If your child is concerned about today's issues, from climate change to pollution to human rights and more, Make Your Mark, Make a Difference, A Kid's Guide to Standing Up for People, Animals, and the Planet by Joan Marie Galat could be a useful addition to your child's library. Hi, I'm Dan Skinner, and welcome to the Kids Bookshelf. Ahead, we'll explore the book, and I'll talk with the author about the inspiration behind it. Joan Marie Galat is an internationally award-winning author of more than 25 books, including Dark Matters, Nature's Reaction to Light Pollution, and Too Much Trash, How Litter is Hurting Animals. She's known for presenting complex information to young readers in approachable and engaging ways. And she joins us to talk about Make Your Mark, Make a Difference. Joan, welcome to the Kids Bookshelf.
Thank you.
Well, tell us about the inspiration behind this book.
Well, this is a book that simmered inside for a long time. I'm a mother of 3 children. They're all grown up now. But when my youngest was younger, she was in junior high, and she came home from school one day interested in child soldiers. She had learned something at school, and she was horrified about what she'd learned about kids as young as she was, or even younger, actually, holding guns and being forced to fight and being put in these horrible situations. And she wanted to help. And I felt helpless. I didn't know really how to help her. I suggested joining another organization that was already working to help children. And she really wanted to have it be her own thing. She wanted to be completely independent with this. And I could just see how this would actually become my project if I dove right in with her. And I didn't really have the time to get so fully involved. So I always felt bad about that I hadn't found a way to help her. And I realized, over the years, then I was always noticing news stories about kids who had found a way to make a difference, kids who cared about different things, and they were raising funds, or they were, arranging for wells to be dug in different countries, and just they'd figured it out. And I just paid attention to those stories, and I started to collect them. And eventually I came up with the book, Make Your Mark, Make a Difference, and how kids can really dive in on the topics they care about. If I'd found that book when my daughter was young, then I would have been in a better position to help her. So
for what age would you recommend the book?
The book is recommended for ages 10 and up. Reviewers have said it really doesn't matter how old you are. If you're new to activism and you want to make a difference, this is a good guide. And I've always felt that a good children's nonfiction book is the perfect place to start for any adult who wants to learn a new topic. So ideally ages 10 and up. It's great for teens as well. But it would be wonderful for parents or librarians and teachers to read the book alongside interested students and be able to talk about it and have those conversations that the book would trigger.
Well, before we talk about some of the specific information in the book, which we can only scratch the surface of because you've got so much here, tell us about the book itself in terms of how it's organized.
The book is organized into 4 parts. So it's basically people, animals, and the planet. And it starts with an overview of human rights, and it has a strong look at communities and how we belong to different kinds of communities. So many topics are tied that it was tricky to organize them because for example, the issue of poverty is also tied to education and opportunity and even roads and access to healthcare and different things. So I broke it up into parts of people, animals, and the planet. And then there's another chapter that looks at activism in the arts and where do you go from there kind of thing.
And you have different segments in the book. You have questions for the readers to ponder. You have profiles of different activists, etc. Tell us a little bit about those.
Well, my challenge was to take a lot of serious information and make it something that would actually be a pleasure to read. So I had to really challenge myself on how to do that. So the book has a lot of sidebars. It has a lot of additional information just to break up some of the more serious texts. So there's meet an activist. There's more than one way to solve a problem, where I might take one problem and have ways 3 different groups or individuals tackled that problem, which is just really interesting to see how you can come at something from so many different angles. There's sidebars like get chatty to spark conversation, and there's quizzards. And a quizzard, it's really fun to make up a word and get it published. A quizzard is a quiz that is supposed to give you some wisdom like a wizard after you take the quiz. So the quizzes are really a fun way to figure out where you would fit into activism. I like to make the point that activism doesn't have to always be loud. It can also be quiet. You don't have to be marching with signs. You could be making art. You could be writing letters. You could be educating others, and that there's a lot of different approaches. So the sidebar material does help explain that. And one of the quizzards is, what kind of dog would you be if you were a dog? And if you were this kind of dog, like there's a lot of different questions. And in the end, it helps you understand if you would be more inclined to be working with people face to face, or if you prefer behind the scenes, promotion, education, where you fit in. So there's a lot of fun elements to the book, despite the seriousness of the topics.
Well, I like that you pointed out that activism doesn't have to be a big thing, because one of the things I was thinking about when I saw this book is there may be kids who think, yeah, I care about these things, but I'm just a kid. What can I do? Is it really, matter that I get involved? And you touched upon that a little bit, but what more would you say to that kid who has doubts about what they can do about an issue they care about?
I think it's important to remember that you don't have to solve the full problem. You can help with an element of the problem. So you might be, a child might learn about war in the world and be very disturbed by that, as we all are, and say, how do I help? How do I stop the war? Well, you can't maybe stop the war, but you could help kids who are displaced from the war, and you could make sure that they have school supplies, or you could support them in other ways, making sure they have fresh water and different things. So to take those giant problems and break them down into smaller elements, that's where a child will feel empowered, that they can make a difference in that element.
And you give tools in the book, lots of different things, examples of what other kids are doing or other activists have done. But give us an idea of some of the range of tools or ideas that you present in the book that will help kids make their mark, as you say in the title of the book.
There are a lot of tools. Some activists are organizing other people, and they're getting groups together, and they're marching in front of governments and that kind of thing. But others are putting up posters. They're raising funds. There was a 4-year-old girl who raised money for cancer research. She was 4 years old, and she started setting up lemonade stands, and other people started taking note of what she was doing and following her example. And they, with all these lemonade stands around, the country, people were raising funds. So there's just so many different ways a person can be part of promotion. They can be part of educating others. They can be part of fundraising. They can be part of lobbying the government. There's just a lot of different ways. They can make art, and the art triggers conversation that gets more people interested in a topic. And that's valuable. That's very valuable, because it's a gentle approach. It's not as confrontational, that not everybody's ready for confrontations. And so it's exciting to see how many different tools there are and different approaches. And what you do when you're 10 or 11 might be a lead up for what you do when you're 12 or 13. It's not that you have to stick to some one thing forever.
I'm talking with Joan Marie Galat about Make Your Mark, Make a Difference, a kid's guide to standing up for people, animals, and the planet. And our conversation continues in a moment. If you're enjoying this discussion, please take a moment to subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you'll know when I post new interviews with authors. And thank you. There's lots of detailed information in here that obviously we won't have time to talk about everything, but just to sort of give us an example, think about one issue that you cover in the book and give us an idea of the kind of information that's here, because, give us the facts, but you also give us ideas of what we can do about it, et cetera. So your choice, just pick something from the book and to give us a taste of what people are going to find here.
Well, there was a young boy in India who was caught in traffic, and his mother tried to hide what the problem was in traffic. But in fact, a man had injured himself, actually died in the end from falling off a motorcycle without a helmet on, being in a collision. And when the boy got to the bottom of what really happened, it bothered him so much. He started making brochures and standing on street corners and handing out these brochures to people on motorcycles at red lights and saying, please wear a helmet, please wear a helmet. And people paid attention to him because he was young. And so it's just such a good example of how it doesn't matter how old you are. What matters are your convictions and how you choose to express them. And what he did didn't cost a lot of money. It was from the heart. He just did it from the heart. And that's just a great example of what kids can really do. And, get rid of all the noise around you of what you could do or should do, and just think of what you can do and what feels good with your own personality and with your own opportunities around you.
What do you think it's important for kids to get involved? I mean, it's one thing to be concerned about it, but what is the value for them, in addition to making your voice heard and other people paying attention, just in terms of their growth as a human being? Why is it important for them to get involved?
I think it's important to feel empowered. None of us like to feel helpless. And most of us care about a lot of different issues, and we do feel helpless, or we don't, take the time always to follow through with them. But taking that action is very satisfying. Knowing that you've done your best, knowing that you put all your effort into it's a huge way to build self-confidence, and that personal growth is just very satisfying. It's an individual who gets involved in activism is going to pick up a lot of skills along the way. They might learn some leadership skills. They might learn how to manage volunteers, manage people. They might learn about local laws or governance, and how governments and councils work, who's in charge of what, and how decision makers make decisions. And of course, they're going to make mistakes along the way, because we all do. And mistakes are just the greatest thing for learning. And so as that child grows up and gets ready to have a part-time job, or gets ready to enter post-secondary education, they have all this life experience that they wouldn't have had otherwise. And that's only going to help their future.
Now, if someone has a child in their life that is concerned about an issue and would like to do something, there's, of course, the book, but what general advice would you have about supporting that child in their effort to make a difference?
The first step would be to gather information. We have to be very careful about where we get our information. There's misinformation, there's disinformation, where we just have to be really careful about our sources. And of course, that is a great thing about feeling empowered and taking that on into the future from the previous question of learning how to discern between what's really going on in the world and what others might be trying to mislead you about. So the first step is just to collect all the information. Say, what do I know? What do I think I know? What do I know for sure? And then say what needs to be done. Not just what needs to be done, but what is a good fit for me. So first, gather the information together. The parent and the child could do that together. Gather the information, look at reputable news sources, discern between fact and opinion. And then when you have all that information, you can say, okay, what part of this would I be good at helping? Should I educate people on this topic? Is there a benefit to raising funds? Fundraising is not always necessary. Sometimes it's just more important to do education and bring this to the attention of decision makers, and see where you best fit in. It all starts with the gathering of the information. And then I'm all about the list. Make a list of ideas. We often choose our first idea, and it's the same first idea many other people had. So you have to find out what other people have done and what's worked and what hasn't worked, and look at why some things haven't worked, and see where you can do better. See where you can learn from other people's mistakes and move forward from there, because they did important groundwork. Even if somebody failed before you trying to solve a problem, they did important groundwork, and you can use that to build on.
Well, there's a lot of information here that clearly we won't have time to talk about, and you provide a lot of solid, actionable items for kids. But taken as a whole, sort of philosophically or conceptually, what are the key takeaways you hope readers will keep with them after reading this book?
I think the key takeaways are that you are powerful. You have choices. you belong to many communities, and within those communities, there are opportunities to help others. Sometimes you might be helping people, sometimes you may be helping animals or looking at the environment, but you are powerful and you have choices. It's you have to be careful about not letting something take over your entire life and filling you with guilt because you can't solve everything. You have to also learn to pace yourself, to accept that not everything is going to be an instant success. Just like anything that's important in life that you strive to do, there will be ups and downs along the way, and that's completely normal and part of it. So it's an important takeaway to understand that you are not powerless, and that processes take time to make a difference, but they can make a difference. And it's so important to persevere and be welcoming to all of the communities around us.
You've written many books on a wide variety of topics. What is it you enjoy about writing for kids?
I really enjoy taking complicated information and making it accessible. When I was a young girl, I was an avid reader. I would go to the library, and sometimes I took out books that maybe weren't meant for children yet. And I couldn't always understand, I was trying to learn about astronomy and different things, and the books were too complex for me. So I find it very satisfying to take those things that I feel kids have an interest in and make them approachable, make the content understandable, and deliver it in a way that delivers hope. Because I know, there are so many topics kids care about. Animals are a huge one. Kids care about animals, and we want them, to understand about habitat loss and, just different biodiversity and all these things. So making that information approachable is really satisfying for me. And if I'm going, it takes a long time to write a book. If I'm going to spend a lot of time with a topic, it has to be a topic I really care about and something that I'm very interested in. So I think the variety of books reflects, I suppose, my variety of interests. But my own form of activism, I suppose, is writing books about topics I care about, like light pollution. I have a book on litter, how litter is hurting animals and how we can make a difference in those areas as well. So I just really like spending time with topics that I'm curious about and learning more about them myself. And I get so excited about these topics, I want to tell everybody. So
what's next for you?
My next book will be a book called Wildlife Crossing: Giving Animals the Right of Way. And it's a book about how roads impact wildlife. We need roads. Roads are an important part of our lives. They're very necessary, and they do a lot of good things for people around the world, but they are a problem for animals. We see this in roadkill. We see this in habitat loss, and we see animals, crossing roads to reach habitat and food sources. And so I touch a little bit about that on Make Your Mark, Make a Difference, with frogs and salamanders needing help crossing roads to get to their habitat. But I explore all of this a little bit more in Wildlife Crossing.
To learn more, the book is Make Your Mark, Make a Difference, a kid's guide to standing up for people, animals, and the planet, by Joan Marie Galat. Joan, thank you for talking with me today.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
If you'd like to purchase Make Your Mark, Make a Difference, I've placed a link for you in the description below. Well, thank you for watching this edition of the Kids Bookshelf. And if you'd like to see more videos about children's books and their authors, be sure to subscribe, like, and click on the bell to be notified about future programs. And if you're interested in books for young adult and older readers, be sure to check out my Some Books Considered channel, and you'll find a link to that below as well. I'm Dan Skinner. Until next time, keep sharing the gift of reading.